All righty, my good people, we got a lot to talk about here today. Already had a ton of warm weather. We've got the really gusty winds, and now we've got that potential for some severe weather as well. We're breaking it all down here. Let's talk about the warm weather first. We had temperatures easily smashing, I mean, destroying record highs out there today, where a lot of us were able to see records make their way up into the mid 70s. You can see that we're still sitting in those 70s right now. And we may have a quick technical error here. I'm going to pull this all the way up into our graphics for you in just a second. But yes, if we could get Brendan on the line, guys, if you're Kalia, if you're listening to me right now, if we could get Brendan on the line and we could see, there we go. I think that's exactly what we need. And tell him to go ahead and go into the production room and take things over to the proper settings that we need for our live here. All right. So things are going to be rocking and rolling in just a second here. We're going to talk first, like I mentioned, about the severe weather that we had today. Or not the severe weather that we had. That's going to be happening. The warm weather. Temperatures got to 75 in Louisville. That's a new record high. 70 degrees is the old record of 2021. It was only set back a few years ago, but we destroyed that with our record high now at 70 for December 28th, set today. Crazy to think about just how warm that we were out there. And we're going to stay warm for the rest of the evening, but the overnight hours, those temperatures will tank. Look at where we started the day at 60 here in Louisville. That may be a new record high temperature for our morning low, which again, you started off the day warm, ended up even warmer. This saying that we got to 74 again, officially from the National Weather Service, they said that we hit 75 degrees. St. Louis even warmer at 77. Look at Dallas, Texas, got to 84 degrees. And then those temperatures, well, they get cooler the further northwest you go. And we're going to see that extra cold air make its way toward us here soon. So, again, we already got through this extra warm air. I mean, it's still sitting here over our region. We can expect those temperatures to stay warm for only a few more hours because now we've got this cold front getting ready to move through. Across the region, things are fairly quiet. We've still got that cloud cover around, and I'm watching up there in our comment sections. People are already asking about the tornado risk that exists. Yes, we are going to be discussing that and breaking it down. You can see that there are tornado warnings north of 64 in southern Illinois, a handful of them. In fact, there are 3 there right now. And that line of storms is going to be heading into our region over the next probably 45 minutes to an hour or so. I anticipate that line getting here about 7:30 in our western counties. So, again, we're gonna try and push weather graphics here, and you see those temperatures that are holding steady in the 70s right now, 68 in Seymour. Everything here is really, really quiet, but we look further out to the west, and that's where you can see that yellow box is a tornado watch that's in effect for Lawrence, Orange, also now Jackson and Jennings counties until 9 o'clock. And do not be surprised to see more counties be added to this tornado watch. Could have gusts upwards of 65 miles per hour. Can't rule out some hail here. The standard tornado watch will say that hail upwards of 1 inch possible. We haven't seen any reports of hail so far. We don't have a lot of instability here, but what we have a lot of is wind shear, and that's why we've had all of these warnings up and down this line. So you go into northern Indiana, that's where we've had a majority along the northern half of this line, north of Indianapolis, a majority of our tornado warnings, even some confirmed tornadoes that were on the ground earlier today, a few hours ago over in Illinois. Now we go further south along this line, right in the middle of it, and you can see Olney down near Fairfield. We have these tornado warnings heading right to the Indiana-Illinois line, heading toward I-69 probably within the next 30 minutes to 45 minutes or so. It'll get there. It's a decently fast-moving line, nothing crazy, around 50 miles per hour or so. The southern side of the line, significantly less wind shear, so you can see all the way down near Little Rock, even south of Paducah. These storms are going to be much weaker. So the southern half of our area, especially closer to the Tennessee border, that's where we can see those temperatures, or excuse me, those wind conditions not as conducive for severe weather potential. So, again, today, things are fairly clear, but we have so far, nothing big for us yet. that doesn't stop here, guys. We've still got plenty of time to get these storms in here and see where see what they end up doing. Now, this is the overall system. That center of low pressure is up near Lake Michigan, Chicago. That's where we've had the better spin in the atmosphere to help create the wind shear, especially with our directional wind shear. So you talk about shear in the atmosphere. There's directional, and then there's also speed shear. We've had a lot of speed shear. So at the ground, at the surface, you've got gusty winds, but they get even faster around 850 millibars. Within that range, from the ground to 850, is usually what we're looking at for the directional and the speed shear to be increasing. We start to see a shift in the winds, and that's the layer of the atmosphere that we're looking for to create tornadoes usually. However, you go when you don't have that directional shear, you don't have as much of the potential for tornadoes. So you've got the speed shear in here, and we know that. We've had plenty of it throughout the day today, and it will only be increasing over the next few hours as that line gets closer to us. What we're not going to see increase much is the directional shear. So winds are basically moving in the same direction at the surface as they are higher up in the atmosphere. If they were turned higher in the atmosphere, we would get more turning of the winds, and that would be able to drop a tornado much, much easier. Let me look through, should I turn my heat on tonight? Alyssa asking. Yeah, I think that that's probably a really good idea to make sure that you've got your heat ready to go for you. Because there's definitely going to be a huge drop in temperatures. We'll talk more about that in just a second here as well. So again, severe weather already ongoing to our west. Those storms heading toward us within the next hour for our western counties. That includes Lawrence, that includes Orange County, and down south, Harrison County as well. So that's where the severe weather is going to start. And not to say that it can't cross the Ohio River down into our Kentucky counties, but I do think that the potential is lower in our Kentucky counties for tornadoes specifically. Damaging wind gusts still possible pretty much across our entire area. 39-mile-per-hour gusts recorded in Louisville today, 53 in Des Moines, 53 in Wichita. So those super gusty winds are present with this system, and they are going to be ushering in that cold air that Alyssa was asking about. Candace is saying it'll be in the 20s. Yes, it absolutely will. From 6 o'clock this evening, so it's just started. That wind advisory is in effect until 7 a.m. tomorrow morning for some gusts of 45 to maybe 50 miles per hour, even outside of the storms themselves. Again, you saw to our west, let me take you back here. To our west, you saw some of those gusts of 53 miles per hour in Des Moines and Wichita. We could experience something like that in a few locations, not many, but a few locations overnight tonight. Let's go forward again to that wind advisory. Every single county in our viewing area, from top to bottom, west to east, included in that advisory for these very gusty winds. Let's take a quick look at who's included in that tornado watch. As I mentioned before, Lawrence, Orange, Jackson, Jennings counties, all included in the tornado watch until 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock tonight. So that is, 9 o'clock, I should say. So 9 o'clock tonight. You just saw a new tornado warning pop up. That's along I-64 in southern Illinois. So right along the 64 corridor north is where we've seen all of these tornado warnings to start off the day. We're going to be keeping a very close eye on those storms as they're rolling in, because these are usually going to be, from what I've seen so far, and I'll pull myself back up here for just a second. These are usually going to be the storms that are pretty quick moving. They don't last real long. This is a very thin line that's coming through, so your rainfall amounts aren't going to be crazy. But again, you get a quick burst of 60-mile-per-hour winds, damage can happen. You get a quick tornado to move through, it may not be on the ground for long, but damage can happen. We've already had confirmed tornadoes in northern Illinois. We've seen debris balls with those. So that's what we're watching out for, is the potential for some very fast-moving, probably usually on the smaller side, tornadoes. Not to say that they're going to necessarily be weak, but they're usually going to be smaller with these type of systems. You get a quick hook, a quick spin up that happens, and it can cause damage really fast with a QLCS like this, and then it's gone in a hurry. Do I think that the tornado watch will extend into Kentucky? Potentially. But again, north of 64 is going to be that better chance for getting the directional shear here. Most of this is unidirectional. All winds moving in the same direction, but they're moving so fast that they do get these quick spin ups in here that don't last real long, but can cause damage really fast. People saying that it's windy all over the area. Absolutely true. Let me scroll up here. At the airport waiting for a flight to Chicago, do I think that the weather will keep you from getting out of Louisville tonight? I don't doubt that they may change up a little bit of the flight plan here, but if you're leaving within the next 15, 20 minutes, I think that you can get off the ground. But I don't know what the exact restrictions are going to be when you're talking surface winds, especially. I mean, with some of these gusts around 40 miles per hour, I guess that could impact takeoff as well. That's something that I need to look more into. Rain and then freeze over tonight. Yes, there is potential for a flash freeze in parts of southern Indiana, I think. But the cold air will be here for everybody. Let's talk more about that in just a second here. I'm going to go ahead and show you the timeline of these storms. 7 o'clock, they are knocking on our doorstep. Again, that's 20 minutes from now. They are just outside of our region. You can see those gusty winds. I've got them pulled up for you here, 40 to maybe 45 miles per hour at times. We'll go back to graphics full for you so you can see this. 40 to 45 mile per hour winds possible just ahead of this cold front. And that's not even necessarily taking into account what winds are going to be inside the storms themselves. That's just what's happening from the southwest. Now, these storms could be pushing winds out of them around 60 miles per hour, potentially. That's why we have that tornado watch in effect. It does include the possibility of 65 mile per hour gusts for these winds. You see the winds start to die down just a little bit behind the cold front, but not a significant amount around midnight. The main thing is that the line of storms will already be beyond our area at midnight. So the severe weather threat comes down very rapidly. Let me walk you back through that. You can see our storms rolling in 7:30 to 8 o'clock. And then you've got crossing over the 65 corridor, hitting Louisville somewhere around 9:30, 10 at the absolute latest, most likely 9 to 9:30. And then it's pushing east of our area by midnight. It's already past Frankfort and Lexington. It's even out of Adair County, our southernmost areas, by midnight. And you'll see those gusty winds remain in the area. That cold front slides through, and it will tank those temperatures. Some of these wind gusts are still going to be hanging out in the 25, 35 mile per hour range. And that will most likely last through the morning hours. And because of that, watch this. Watch the feels like temperatures drop down to single digits to start the day on Monday and stay in the single digits. So we will feel like we're in single digits all day long on Monday, despite the fact that our actual temperatures are in the mid-20s. And you need some really fast-moving winds in order to do that. So the tornado risk is there. It's a 2% risk for our northwestern counties. Let's go our northern counties first. North Vernon, you're included in this. Up there in Jackson County, Jackson and Jennings, Lawrence County. We're going to want to throw back up the graphics. There we go. Thank you, guys. It's going to include Scott County as well, western portion of Clark down into Floyd, Harrison County, down into Meade, and Breckenridge. And then everybody to the northwest of that are included in that tornado risk. It's a 2%, meaning that 2% chance of seeing a tornado within a 25-mile radius. 2% chance. It's very, very, very low. One could be possible tonight. Now, of course, some people are like, well, are you going to break in for something like that? Absolutely. I know that there are football games on. Absolutely. No doubt about it. I'm going to be breaking in if there's a football game on and there's a tornado on the ground, because we have to protect whoever's going to be impacted by that. We have to let them know what's going on out there. It doesn't matter what's happening. What matters on TV programming, what matters is what's happening in the weather. So, again, if it weren't an impactful event, we would say that. But because there are already tornado warnings just west of our area, only about 75 to 100 miles, less than that, about 75 miles west of our area, there are tornado warnings in southern Illinois. So that's why we are staying on top of this throughout the evening here. Let me also talk about the temperature drop. Folks are already asking about that. Sunday afternoon, we hit 75 degrees. By Monday morning or Monday around midday, temperatures will keep dropping through the morning. By midday, we could be sitting at 25. Some of the models taking us down to 24 degrees, so a potential 50-degree drop in less than 24 hours. That is insane to think about, but it's happened before. The greatest 24-hour drop that we've ever had on record here in Louisville was January 23rd of 1963, so over 60 years ago, from 46 degrees to negative 12. Definitely one of the coldest days that we've ever had. So January 23rd saw a 58-degree drop there in 1963. No, ours isn't going to be that extreme, but it sure will be close. People asking, is there going to be a tornado in my specific area? No, I can't tell you if there's going to be a tornado exactly where you're at, but we'll go back to the to what I was showing you earlier. The further east in our area you are and the further south, the lower that tornado threat is going to be. One of the big reasons for this is because we lose the energy from the daytime hours. We are going to be losing that energy. When you have sunshine beating down on you, it adds CAPE values, so convective available potential energy. That's one of the things that we have to work with, or did during the daytime, but now that the sun is set, we lose some of that energy. So anticipate this line overall starting to break down a little in intensity. The line will hold, but the intensity will go down some. Let's throw back up camera for me, guys. And again, the storms, as they're moving through, are going to be holding together as a line. However, they're going to be decreasing in intensity. Guys, if we could get back onto our graphics, that would be really good so we can show folks what's happening with these storms. Back to the one you were at earlier. You see all those red boxes on the map north of I-64. Those are all tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, all up and down this line, even past north of Indianapolis. We have severe thunderstorm warnings as well. So anywhere along this line, 60-mile-per-hour gusts are going to be possible. I don't think that hail is going to be a big issue for us here, but we have at least 4 tornado warnings from what I can see, maybe 5, that are active right now just north of 64. So I'll be on air for this as soon as a warning comes out for our area, a tornado warning specifically. And also we may have Mark come in here and help with the coverage as well, depending on how many of those warnings we still have that are moving in our area. What direction are these tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings moving is what Ashley was asking. Well, the storms are moving basically due east. Almost all of these storms, if a tornado were to pop up, it's going to be moving in an almost due easterly direction the whole way through. How bad is the wind going to be? Even outside of the storms, some of these winds are going to be sitting somewhere around 40 to maybe 50 miles per hour at times. So that is going to be pretty intense. So again, line of storms moving through. South of Terre Haute, you start to see some tornado warnings pop up. North of the 64 corridor, north of Evansville, is where we have seen a little bit of rotation within some of these, but most of these are very brief in nature. They're not very extreme. So here's that tornado risk again. This is what we want to look at. That 2% risk for the northwestern portion of our area does include Breckinridge County all the way up to Jackson and Jennings counties, and even I think the far western edge of Jefferson County there in southern Indiana. All right, I'm going to skip forward and talk briefly about the cold air that's going to be ushered in behind this system. And there will be a lot of it, folks. Look at this. The warm air gets pushed out. The cold air comes in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That cold air is around. Now, we may return to something a little bit more seasonal by Friday, but not a whole lot. It starts to retreat just a little bit heading into next weekend, but nothing crazy. So again, this is a pretty strong Arctic front, which is why there's even potential for a few snowflakes on the backside of it. Monday, I do think that there is potential to see damaging wind gust. Or excuse me, on Monday, I think that there is potential. Sorry, I'm looking at these storms here. For maybe even some flurries throughout the day. So here you go. Let's count them up for you here. The tornado warnings that we have in effect in southern Illinois getting ready to cross into Indiana. There's at least 1, 2, 3, I see 4 on the board right now. 4 of them north of 64. So as mentioned before, the northwestern portion of our viewing area has the best chance to get tornado warnings here. Does that mean for sure if you're in a tornado warning that you are going to be hit by the tornado? No. But if you're in a tornado warning, you need to take your tornado warning precautions for sure. Will the roads be dry overnight or will there be slick spots? You know what? With how little rain that we're going to get and how gusty the winds are, that actually could be really, really beneficial for us. When you have gusty winds behind a system and you get a break in the rain, you see that blow across the roadways And while the temperatures are going to be dropping very quickly by Monday morning, with as fast as the winds that we have moving, it should be evaporating a lot of that moisture off the ground. So that's really good. And that's a really good question, because when you talk about a flash freeze, maybe there are going to be some, like in the rumple strips and things like that, you're still going to have some water in there. Those temperatures are dropping throughout the day Monday. Those could be spots where I think that there could be a quick freeze with whatever moisture is left over. But most of the roads should be better by Monday morning just because of how fast these winds are blowing. Yes, this is Christina. This is absolutely heading toward Corydon. There are tornado warned storms along the portion of the line that's going to be moving into Corydon. Just go back to graphics, and you guys can head out. Just head out. Awesome. So we got a couple of engineer or production folks that are in the room trying to get some things done. Let me know if the sound is back on, guys. Go ahead and put it in the chat. Let me know if the sound is back on. We've been trying to troubleshoot some things behind the scenes. Let's pull back up our old graphics, the ones I had on earlier, and we'll get off of GR Analyst. And I'm going to go back to my regular radar and satellite, guys. So there you go. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Henrietta. Thank you, Bethany and Timothy, for letting us know. Is there a possibility of an outflow boundary developing ahead of this line and possibly within these storms? Yeah, briefly, maybe, but I haven't seen, when an outflow boundary forms, usually that's indicative of strong winds within some storms, but the storms are starting to die down. So that's, you see an outflow boundary, the winds are decreasing in intensity. That's really good news. I haven't seen that be the case just yet with these storms. We'll be monitoring for that. Another tornado warning just got added to southern Illinois, so I think they're up to 5, and a new severe thunderstorm warning just north of I-64 in southern Indiana. One of the first ones for southern Indiana now. For Patoka, Montgomery, you see it there north of 64. So again, looks like 5 tornado warnings now ongoing, and probably won't be the last ones here either. As it moves into southwestern Indiana, we could very well see more pop up. And that's why it's first going to be Lawrence, Orange, maybe even down into Crawford County that sees the potential for tornadoes first here. So if you're in English, if you're in Paoli, Mitchell, Bedford, Guthrie, those locations, Mitchell Tree, maybe you watching from there, Hall, Indiana, Jasper as well, Huntingburg, Carter, pay attention to these storms because the rotation has been along this middle portion of the line here recently, and there could be more of it. So let me put this into motion for you. And you see the storms moving through southern Illinois right now into southern Indiana. As they've done so, we've seen a lot less of the tornado warnings in the northern portion of the line, a lot more of them here along the middle portion. You go further south, absolutely nothing. There's no real instability down there. The wind shear is significantly lower. But the overall system, it's a monster, and it's got severe potential on one side with record-breaking temperatures out ahead of it. On the back side, Arctic front brings in really cold air. It'll turn whatever moisture's left over into some flurries, and we could see some of those on Monday morning. But I want to go back to this frame right here for you and just show you that potential for tornadoes here. We'll zoom in just a little bit. And you've got 5 ongoing warnings in southern Illinois right now. So as I mentioned before, Mark is going to be coming in potentially tonight. Depends on how many of these circulations actually move across the state lines. The farther into Indiana they go, the weaker that this line should become, because there's less and less and less energy to work with here. Nani asking if this includes Louisville. Louisville is not included in a tornado watch right now. However, I don't doubt that there could be some locations of southern Indiana that get added into the watch. So this is definitely going to be a situation that we are watching very closely here, and something that, I mean, we knew that this would be a long line of storms moving through, but it does look a little more intense than previously anticipated. So that 2% chance for tornadoes, even in southern Illinois, and let me bring that one back up for you. I mean, you've seen where all of these tornado warnings are in southern Illinois. That 2% risk is really, there you go, right on the southern edge of the 5% in brown. And then the green, you have that 2% risk for southern Illinois, southwestern Indiana, and parts of western Kentucky. And that's where a lot of these tornado warnings are right now. So we've made a transition from the northern half of the line being the most severe to now this middle portion of the line, and that is going to be heading right into the western portion of our area. We're going to look on at some of these comments here just to see what you guys have to say. Don, it does look like just because of how fast the winds are moving up and down in the atmosphere, through the atmospheric column, that I do think that our tornado threat has gone up a little bit. Again, the Storm Prediction Center has this under 2%. I wouldn't doubt that maybe in our far western counties, maybe a 5% would need to be included here, just because of how many ongoing warnings that we already have. And again, just because there is a warning doesn't mean that you for sure will be hit by a tornado, but it does mean that you need to put your precautions into effect immediately. Let me look at some more questions that we have here as I pull up our satellite and radar for you so you can see these storms, and I'll put it into motion too over the last couple of hours. There you go. You can see these storms moving from west to east, getting ready. Now the northern half has crossed over that Indiana-Illinois line, and the southern half is getting ready to do the same. Let's see. We're going to take down the chat here because some folks are getting a little bit squirrely in there. Let's see. French Lick, are you included in this? Yes, French Lick is included in the tornado watch, and we'll get these storms within the next 45 minutes or so. Palmyra, Indiana, you're going to be getting these storms too. Brownstown, Seymour, the further north you are, the higher that your chance of a potential tornado warning is going to be. Folks saying that the atmosphere is unstoppable. I mean, you're right. We can't do anything about it. We're just the ones that are doing, humans got nothing on weather. So we just do our best to make sure that folks are warned ahead of time. If a tornado pops up, what are the odds that it's short-tracked or on the lower end of the spectrum in severity? The odds are pretty good that this is going to be a short-track tornado. It's on the ground for just a few minutes, usually is the case. Usually no more than 10 when it comes to a QLCS like this. So the scenario is not the worst that we've ever seen by any means, but it is one that obviously warrants all of our attention here as we go through the rest of the evening hours. What you'll see with a lot of these severe thunderstorm warnings in orange is a lot of them will have tornado possible tags on them because there are different small areas of rotation, and any one of those, briefly, that notch could go tornado warned. All right, folks, that's about all that we have for right now. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to be keeping a close eye on these over the next bit. I'll contact Mark, see what he has to say about the situation. We may be bringing him in for the coverage tonight, unless, because it's running into air that has a little bit less energy, some of this may be dying down some. So expect the further east that these storms get, the less intense that they will be, but definitely expect to hear loud rain for about 10 to 15 minutes on your rooftop, beating on your windows. Very gusty winds for the rest of the night and into tomorrow, as well as those temperatures absolutely tank. And that tornado threat is non-zero. It's definitely there, and we'll be keeping a close eye on it the entire time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us.